Picture this, chosen one. The cruelest punishment life delivers is when someone scatters thorns in another's path, only to find themselves bleeding on the same blades they planted. That is the law of balance, the silent justice written into existence. Every scheme, every whisper, every dagger of envy thrown in secret circles always comes back, sharper, heavier, and aimed at its sender. Critics think they sit above consequence, laughing as they predict your downfall. But life itself is an accountant. Every bitter plan is logged, every betrayal filed, and when the debt is collected, it crushes harder than they ever imagined. While they huddle in corners with devilish intent, convinced their numbers give them strength, they forget a truth that stalks them. The power of the chosen cannot be caged. Their unity is nothing more than a fragile alliance of insecurity, and each plot they lay becomes another stone in their own collapse. Like moths chasing fire, they burn in the blaze they hoped would consume you. Irony writes the story. What was meant to break you forged you. Their sabotage didn't weaken your path, it paved it. Their chains became your ladder, their insults your sharpening stone. And here's what eats them alive. Your very presence haunts them. To exist, to thrive, to rise higher than their imagination, that is the nightmare they can't escape. So, chosen one, if you feel the weight of this truth, press like, subscribe, and let this fire spread wider. Because your ascent isn't just survival, it's their defeat, and your unstoppable rise has only begun. Before we dive into the heart of this message, chosen one, pause for a moment. What you're about to hear isn't just another story, it's the truth your enemies can't stand. The very fact that you're here proves you've already outlasted their schemes, and tonight you'll understand why they're restless, broken, and unable to explain how you outsmarted them. So before we go further, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop the number 99 in the comments. Let it echo as a sign that you're part of this wave of strength. Stay with me until the end, because the revelation you're about to receive will not only expose your enemy's defeat, it will ignite a power inside you they can never touch. Number 1. When they strike your flesh, answer with an unbreakable spirit. Chosen one, let's make one thing clear. The weight crushing your enemies right now isn't coming from you. It's coming from their own collapsing schemes. They built traps thinking you'd stumble in, but the ground they dug caved beneath their own feet. The bad news that hit them wasn't an accident. It was the inevitable outcome of arrogance meeting truth. They thought their whispers, their backroom strategies, their staged attacks would corner you. But you moved faster, saw deeper, and stayed calmer. Before their so-called ambush could even breathe, you had already disarmed it. That's why their pride stings worse than any defeat. They didn't just fail, they were outsmarted before they even began. And chosen one, understand this. The power you carry doesn't only protect you, it exposes them. Their downfall didn't come from your retaliation. It came from their blindness. They underestimated your patience. They mocked your silence. They misread your resilience as weakness. While they were busy celebrating a move they thought was brilliant, you had already checkmated them 3 turns earlier. That's the news suffocating them now. They didn't just lose, they embarrassed themselves. Picture it clearly. A group of hunters congratulating themselves on cornering what they think is fragile prey. They prepare their weapons, certain of victory. But when they strike, the prey doesn't flinch. It transforms into a lion. That's what your enemies are choking on right now. They imagined you as vulnerable, easy to wound. Instead, they were forced to face a spirit sharper, stronger, and untouchable. The humiliation runs deeper than any defeat. They realized their own judgment was their downfall. Here's the irony that slices through them. Their attack gave you momentum. Every rumor they spread sharpened your awareness. Every betrayal taught you strategy. Every attempt to isolate you became training ground for your strength. They handed you the very tools you used to outgrow them. What they thought was your cage became your forge. What they called your ending became your rebirth. That's why they sit restless now, replaying every step, asking themselves where they went wrong. And here's the answer. Chosen One, they went wrong the moment they mistook silence for surrender. They forgot that the one who waits, observes, and endures always walks away with victory. Their chaos was loud, but your clarity was louder. Their unity was shallow, while your strength was rooted deep. They believed they were breaking you, but the only thing breaking was the illusion of their own power. Number 2. Stop fighting old battles, outgrow the shadow they still swing at. Chosen One, the cruelest defeat your enemies are facing right now is realizing they've been swinging at a shadow. They plotted, schemed, and whispered, convinced they knew your weaknesses. But here's the truth that breaks them. You've already outgrown the version of yourself they prepared to fight. They're still waging war against your past, but that version of you no longer exists. They came armed with outdated maps, expecting the old wounds, the old fears, the old cracks in your armor to still be there. Instead, they ran headfirst into a wall of transformation. Picture this. A thief returns to a house, smug because he still has the old key. He twists, shoves, even kicks at the lock, certain the door will swing open like before. But what he doesn't know is the locks have been changed, the defense is upgraded, and the person inside is no longer the same. That's your enemies right now, furious, humiliated, choking on the reality that their keys no longer fit. They remember the days when betrayal could break you, when lies could pierce your skin, when loneliness could drown you. But they forgot something crucial. Pain doesn't keep you weak, it refines you. Every scar became your armor, every loss became your strategy, every silence became your strength. While they were busy rehearsing the same tired attacks, you were quietly evolving into someone they cannot measure, cannot predict, cannot trap. And that's the bad news, shaking their circle to the core. They wasted time and energy plotting against a ghost. Their weapons are useless, their strategies outdated, and their victories nothing more than illusions. Chosen One, they're left fighting your shadow while the real you, sharper, stronger, untouchable, walks far ahead, out of their reach forever. Number 3. Break every shackle by turning pressure into explosive strength. Chosen One, listen closely. Pressure was never your prison, it was your training ground. The harder they tried to chain you, the more unstoppable you became. Every rumor they spread was meant to choke your spirit. Every betrayal was designed to fold your will. Every obstacle was built to weigh you down. But instead of crumbling, you transformed. Their shackles became sparks, their traps became stepping stones, and their fire became the very forge that turned you into steel. That's the bad news echoing through their circles right now. They didn't weaken you, they weaponized you. Imagine it like this. They thought they had buried you under rubble, laughing as they pictured your suffocation. Yet when the dust cleared, you didn't crawl, you erupted. Like a seed crushed into the ground, you pushed through the weight and burst into something uncontainable. They forgot the law of balance, that pressure doesn't break the chosen, it detonates hidden power. Coal becomes diamond under pressure. Steel hardens in fire. Rivers carve canyons only through relentless force. And you, Chosen One, are living proof of this truth. What your enemies cannot swallow is that their very efforts built your resilience. They tried to silence you, but silence sharpened your vision. They tried to isolate you, but isolation trained your discipline. They thought rejection would break you, but rejection taught you independence. Every strike they delivered only unlocked another weapon within you. That's why their heads hang low today, because in trying to destroy you, they accidentally revealed you. And now you stand as the reminder of their greatest failure. They trained the very person they wanted to break. Chosen one, pressure did not crush you, it crowned you. Their chains didn't hold you down, they launched you higher. And that is the nightmare they'll never escape. Number 4. Don't seek revenge, let your survival become their execution. Chosen one, the cruelest fate an enemy can face is not the strike of your hand, but the sight of you still standing tall when they swore you would fall. They poured energy into building your ruin, whispering in shadows, gathering in secret, convinced that the final chapter of your story was theirs to write. They imagined you begging for air, crushed beneath the weight of their schemes. But when the smoke cleared, you were still there, untouched, unshaken, alive. That single fact alone has become their public execution. Understand this. Your survival is not silence, it's a verdict. Every breath you take is evidence that their power was hollow. Every step forward is a slap across the face of those who swore you wouldn't rise again. Revenge would have been too easy, too small. But survival is eternal. It forces them to relive their failure daily, knowing they wasted everything and achieved nothing. Picture it clearly, a firing squad certain they've ended their target, only to watch the figure step forward through the smoke, fearless, calm, unstoppable. That image haunts them now. They can't escape the reality that your presence is the loudest sentence life could pass against them. They believed they could erase you, yet here you are, stronger, sharper, and elevated beyond their reach. Their so-called victory dissolved into humiliation the moment you refused to collapse. And that, chosen one, is the true brilliance of survival. You didn't just outlast their storm, you turned their storm into your proof. You became the evidence of their defeat, the living reminder that their weapons were nothing but illusions. Your survival is their execution, and every day you rise higher, you carve that truth deeper into their story of failure. Number 5. Refuse the mud fight, rise so high their hands can't reach you. Chosen one, there is no greater humiliation for your enemies than realizing you will never meet them in the dirt. They throw stones, spread whispers, and bait you into a battle where insults are their only weapons. They crave chaos, they thrive on noise, and they ache for you to roll in the mud so they can claim victory in a place where they feel comfortable. But here's the bad news for them. You've already risen above. Their claws swing at shadows while you climb beyond their reach. And that silence, that refusal to bend down, is the dagger tearing their pride apart. Picture it. A pack of bitter rivals gather at the foot of a mountain, shouting threats, daring you to come down. They fling their words like rocks, hoping to bruise your spirit. But you don't move. Step after step, you climb higher, calmer, untouchable. Soon, their voices fade into faint echoes, and the very stones they once hurled no longer touch you. That's the battlefield shift destroying them right now. You denied them the drama they needed, and in that denial, you erased their only chance at power. This is what enrages them most, your indifference. Lies cannot live without reaction. Manipulation cannot grow without attention. Gossip cannot survive without conflict. You gave them none of these, and by giving them nothing, you gained everything. Their rage became their cage, while your calm became your crown. And now the bad news spreads in their circles like wildfire. You outsmarted their spiritual attack by refusing to descend into their pit. You showed them that the higher ground belongs to the chosen, and that no matter how loud they shout, their hands will never touch you. Number 6. Never fear their alliances. Envy-built packs always eat themselves. Chosen one, let's tear the mask off this illusion your enemies are hiding behind. They thought numbers would shield them, that gathering into a pack would make them unstoppable. They whispered together, plotted in circles, feeding each other's bitterness like wolves howling in the dark. But here's the bad news they can't swallow. Alliances built on envy always rot from the inside. What they called unity was never strength. It was poison. Their bond wasn't loyalty. It was jealousy, stitched together with fear, and jealousy always eats its own. Picture it like this. A pack of snakes tangled together, hissing, convinced their collective venom would overwhelm you. But snakes tied in knots don't strike outward for long, they strike each other. That's what's happening in their camp right now. Suspicion grows, paranoia spreads, whispers turn into accusations. The same mouths that cursed your name are now biting each other, trying to prove who's the sharpest, who's the most dangerous. And in that chaos, their so-called alliance becomes the noose tightening around their own throats. This is the cosmic balance they forgot about, chosen one. True unity comes from purpose, but their purpose was only destruction. And destruction is never a foundation, it's a ticking bomb waiting to explode from the inside. That's why, while they collapse into mistrust and blame, you stand untouched, rising higher with clarity they'll never know. Here's the hard truth burning them alive. They came together because they couldn't stand your light alone. But the more they clung to each other, the more obvious their weakness became. Numbers don't defeat clarity. Crowds don't defeat truth. Their group was never a threat. It was their downfall disguised as strength. And now the only news echoing in their circle is this: you outsmarted them before they even realized they were destroying themselves. Number 7. Expose fear for the illusion it is. Drink it and spit out clarity. Chosen one, fear is the weapon your enemies trusted most. They thought if they whispered loud enough, threatened long enough, or cast shadows dark enough, you would freeze in place. But here's the truth that cut them down. Fear is only smoke, and smoke disappears the moment you learn to breathe through it. They tried to surround you with illusions, monsters painted on the walls of your mind, hoping you would panic. Instead, you stood still, you studied the shadows, and you saw the strings behind the puppet. That's when their entire act collapsed. Understand this. Fear never breaks the strong, it sharpens them. Soldiers don't train in silence, they train under fire. Not to be destroyed by it, but to master its rhythm. That's what you did, chosen one. Every scare tactic they threw became your training exercise. Every false threat became your lesson. While they waited for you to tremble, you were already mapping their moves. While they thought you'd hesitate, you were anticipating. They believed fear would paralyze you, but all it did was expose their weakness. And now look at them. Their bad news is that fear no longer works on you. You turned their shadows into mirrors that revealed who they truly are, desperate, fragile, and predictable. They wanted you chained by terror, but instead you drank it, spat it out as clarity, and walked forward untouchable. That's why they panic now, why their whispers grow frantic. Because nothing terrifies an enemy more than realizing the leash they counted on has snapped. So remember, chosen one, fear is never real power. It is smoke, it is theater, it is their illusion. And you are the one who saw through it, crushed it, and walked out stronger than ever. Number 8. Don't let them script your life. Hold the pen and write your own story. Chosen one. Nothing strikes fear into your enemies more than realizing the script they spent nights writing about you has turned to dust. They thought they could author your downfall, drafting rumors like chapters and spreading lies like ink. They sat in their little circle, pretending to be publishers of your fate, convinced their version of your life would be the only one the world remembers. But here's the truth that's ripping through them. You are the author, you always were, and the pen has never left your hand. Think of it like this. A group of critics gathers around a typewriter, feverishly trying to scribble out a tragedy with your name on it. They slash out your victories, invent failures, and twist the truth into fiction. But by the time their words reach the street, you've already published a masterpiece that makes their cheap draft look like a bad joke. Their lies don't define you, they expose themselves. Every rumor says more about their weakness than your reality. That's the humiliation they can't escape. While they rehearsed your funeral, you announced your rebirth. While they staged your ending, you began a new chapter. They wanted to hold the narrative, but their envy bled through every word, and people can always smell bitterness disguised as truth. That's why their story collapsed before it even began, because your actions outshined their fiction. Remember this, chosen one, you don't live by their script. You write your own story with ink they can't erase. Every setback became a page of resilience. Every betrayal became a plot twist of strength. And now the book of your life is turning into a saga of victories they'll never get to edit. Their bad news is simple. They lost the pen, and you never gave it back. Number 9. See through secrecy. Use discernment to collapse their shadows. Chosen one, secrecy only works when the target is blind. That's what your enemies never understood. They believed whispers in dark corners, coded messages, and hidden meetings would shield them. They thought moving in silence gave them an edge, but shadows crumble in front of someone whose vision cuts deeper than lies. You didn't just survive their secrecy, you dismantled it. Every glance they exchanged, every false smile, every backroom plan exposed itself to your discernment long before they made their move. Imagine a thief who kills the lights, certain the darkness will protect him. He creeps forward, grinning, convinced no one can see. But when he looks up, he realizes the one he stalked can see perfectly in the dark. That is your power. Your enemies weren't clever. They were predictable. Every step they took in hiding became another confirmation of their weakness. They forgot that discernment isn't about evidence, it's about energy. You felt the shift before they spoke. You read the patterns in their silence. You saw through the cracks they swore were invisible. And now, chosen one, the bad news that scorches them is this: you were never caught off guard. While they scrambled to guard their schemes, you were already 2 moves ahead. Their secrecy didn't protect them, it exposed them. They called it strategy, but it was nothing more than fear dressed as cleverness, and fear always collapses under the weight of truth. That's why they sit restless now, because the one thing they trusted, their shadows, betrayed them. You didn't just outlast their spiritual attack, you turned on the light and left them choking in the smoke of their own plots. You saw everything. And nothing terrifies an enemy more than realizing their secrets were never safe from you. Number 10. Don't mistake delay for defeat. Patience detonates unstoppable victories. Chosen one, here is the truth your enemies can't digest. Delay is not defeat, it is preparation. They laughed at your quiet seasons, whispered about your silence, and mocked the moments when your progress wasn't loud. They mistook your patience for weakness, your pause for collapse. But what they didn't see was the roots growing underground, stronger and deeper with every passing day. Life has a way of disguising progress in stillness. And while they were celebrating too early, believing you had stalled, you were gathering momentum for an eruption they will never recover from. Picture a farmer's field after planting. For weeks, nothing breaks the soil. To outsiders, it looks barren, wasted, hopeless. Neighbors mock, saying nothing will grow. But then rain falls, roots stretch deep, and suddenly the harvest bursts forth all at once, abundant, unstoppable, undeniable. That is the story of your rise. Your enemies threw a victory party in the middle of the race, not realizing the finish line had already been claimed by you. Their arrogance blinded them to the reality that patience always outlasts panic. The bad news they choke on now is this: while they wasted energy celebrating your supposed fall, you were sharpening weapons they could never anticipate. They thought silence meant defeat, but silence was strategy. They thought you were stuck, but you were loading. And when your breakthrough struck, it detonated like thunder, leaving them coughing in the ashes of their own premature celebrations. So remember this, chosen one: patience is not standing still. It is gathering force. Every pause is a bowstring pulled tighter, every delay a storm forming behind the horizon. And when it finally releases, no scheme, no whisper, no attack can stop the explosion of victory that was written for you. Number 11. Redirect their fire. Turn every attack into fuel for your growth. Chosen one, listen closely. The worst news your enemies just received is that every ounce of fire they threw at you only became the fuel that pushed you higher. They wasted nights scheming, whispering, feeding each other poison, believing their hatred would burn you to ashes. But here's the reality. They weren't destroying you, they were forging you. Every strike they launched lit a flame inside you, and instead of crumbling, you transformed their fire into the very energy that sharpened your edge. That's why they can't sleep. That's why their heads hang low. Their biggest humiliation is realizing they built your strength with their own hands. Picture it clearly. Two fields side by side. In one, your enemies stomp through the night, scattering weeds, poisoning soil, tearing up the ground just to keep you from growing. In the other, you quietly water, plant, and protect. Months later, their field lies barren, suffocated by their own bitterness. But yours bursts with harvest so abundant it blinds them. Their hate became your rain. Their curses became your sunlight. Their schemes became the very soil that nurtured your rise. That's the irony ripping through their pride. They tried to starve you, but instead they fed your power. And now, chosen one, the truth they can't stomach. They are drained, exhausted, broken by the very obsession they thought would bury you. You, on the other hand, walk taller, stronger, unstoppable. They lost their strength feeding a war they could never win, while you invested in growth they can never match. That is the bad news echoing through their camp. They made you unstoppable, and there is nothing they can do to undo it. Number 12. Remember, the greatest proof of victory is you still standing unstoppable. Chosen one, listen closely. The cruelest shock your enemies choke on is not a speech, not a battle, not even revenge. It's the undeniable fact that you are still here. They plotted, they whispered, they stacked every obstacle they could find in hopes that you would finally break. But every morning you rise, every step you take forward, every breath you draw with strength is proof that their entire attack has collapsed. The greatest evidence of victory isn't in what you destroyed. It's in the simple, unshakable truth that you remain unstoppable. Think of it like this. Storms roar, waves crash, and lightning splits the sky, but eventually the clouds break and the ocean calms. What remains standing after the chaos is the strongest proof of resilience. That's you. While they drowned in their own bitterness, waiting for your collapse, you endured the storm and came out sharper, calmer, and untouchable. Their bad news isn't just that you survived. It's that you walked away stronger while they remained stuck in the wreckage of their own failure. And that, chosen one, is what haunts them the most. Your presence alone is a verdict they cannot appeal. They can't erase the reality that you've outlasted their chaos. They can't deny that their efforts, once loud and vicious, now look like empty shadows in the light of your survival. So remember this: you don't need to shout your victory. You don't need to waste energy proving your strength. You living, rising, and standing tall is the ultimate humiliation for those who tried to bury you. Their defeat echoes every time your name is mentioned. Their envy deepens every time you take another step forward, and their nightmare grows every day they realize you are still standing and you will remain unstoppable. And so, Chosen One, as we close this message, remember the truth that shakes your enemies to their core. Their schemes collapsed, but you are still standing, stronger than ever. Every attempt to trap you only sharpened your path. Every whisper of malice only amplified your rise. This is the bad news they can't escape. You are untouchable. Now, before you go, fuel this mission. Hit the like button, subscribe, and drop 777 in the comments to let the world know you stand unbroken. Together we rise higher, and together we prove that no spiritual attack can ever stop the chosen.